Thank you. I'm Brian Miller, CEO and Director at Astra Exploration, and we are exploring for epithermal precious metals, gold and silver primarily, in northern Chile. Our company was founded on the idea that there are still great opportunities, especially in northern Chile, for these epithermal systems. The area has been heavily explored for copper, but much less so for precious metals. A lot of this area in the region has been held by major mining companies for decades. It hasn't seen modern exploration to any kind of real extent, and it's highly prospective for these types of systems. So we've identified one in particular in that area. That's Pampa Paciencia, our flagship asset, and we've been continuing to advance that over the last several months.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on the show, Brian. Appreciate that. I'm going to start with the obvious. You have chosen to do a project down in Chile, and some not very nice headlines coming out of there in terms of the new government's attitude to miners. I mean, how are you feeling about working down there?
Better than I was 6 months ago. For sure, there are perceived risks, political risks in Chile, which are justified. They've had constitutional referendum in the works, the installation of a new government. So a lot of uncertainty has been introduced, but I would say that generally speaking, we have seen a lot of these more extreme viewpoints and ambitions from this administration that have moderated or been rejected altogether, which is encouraging. And all we can hope for is continue to see developments toward that direction right now. So I think it's much better than it was several months ago.
Okay, so they came out of the blocks hard, but slightly starting to flag already. Interesting, because we're sort of reading headlines of some of these big companies and big projects. I'm talking about Gold Fields, their Salas Norte project. We've seen even smaller companies, Rio2, ready to start building. They've had their permits, licenses refused by the environmental agency, and specifically the Minister of the Environment is getting heavily involved there. What's going on? I mean, is that going to affect you? Have you got what you need to be able to get off and do your drilling program?
My understanding, yes, keeping abreast of the Rio2 and Goldfield stories. My understanding is that this mostly revolves around the presence of endangered species in the area. So, it's a difficult situation. It's tedious at best to work through. And I would say that to that degree, we don't have those challenges at Pampa Paciencia that they do there. As you can see behind me, this is the landscape here. It's Atacama Desert. There's no plant life. There's no animal life. It's pretty barren, and it's mining country. We're right directly about 15 kilometers from two major operating copper mines, Spence and Sierra Gorda. So we don't see those kind of challenges that they face here at our project, but nonetheless, it's always, it is important to always be as diligent as you can with these impacts that mining and exploration may cause.
Right. So it's not a case of the environmental agency is looking for excuses to stop mining in country. The Rio and Goldfields, we're talking about Chinchilla. You're clearly not a lot to look at in the image behind you, in the sense there's not a lot of vegetation, or one suspects for chinchillas to go a roaming. But are you concerned that the government will try and find any reason to kind of stop mining in country at the moment, or are there examples where people are carrying on mining right now? I think that's the concern for people looking into Chile at the moment.
I don't think that it's the government looking for any reason to prevent mining. I do think that there is a lot to addressing to and catering to these endangered species. So it very much is a hot button topic. It's specific in nature, and I do think that that's a very specific and kind of one-off thing. It's not a strategy to a broader approach, I don't believe.
Okay. Well, let's short into other things then. Again, looking at the image behind you, how do you get water up there?
There is water, like I said, 15 kilometers away, Spence and Sierra Gorda, just 5 kilometers to the south, the past producing Faride precious metals mine. So there is water in the region, and it would be a matter of, buying or acquiring those water rights in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Okay. What are the other kind of long poles in the tent for you when you're sort of starting up something like this?
I'm sorry?
What are the long poles in the tent? Sorry, banking term of, what are the kind of the barriers or the things that kind of keep you awake at night in terms of things that you may come up against when you're sort of starting off like this?
Obviously, especially in these challenging markets, that's probably our primary challenge at this point, is just the risk-off environment. Junior exploration in particular has been hit really hard. So that's been a very difficult environment, and that goes for just about any company that's a small junior right now. And that's been our biggest challenge. It's otherwise, I would say that in our short existence as a company, less than 2 years so far, we just listed on the Venture Exchange in January. And in that very short time period, we've had some very encouraging developments, and we've managed to attract the attention and participation of some major industry players.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get onto them in a second, because Mike Gentili and Peter Maroney, I think most people have heard of, and I think a regular on our show is Charles Funk at Helio. So I want to talk about the team in a second, but let's start with you. What's your background relevant to what you're trying to do today?
To try to abbreviate this without going into a very long spiel, I've been involved in mining and exploration in some degree since about 2005. I previously worked for a junior company based out of Vancouver. I started out in operations, so I was doing the on-the-ground stuff. My background's in finance and business, and I eventually migrated into business development for that previous company. I took on the VP role. I was also CFO, and then we were bought out by Rico Metals in 2017. So a bit of a background in the exploration space in general. Started out in operations, kept my teeth. So it's been a good experience as far as having that rounded background, the direct operational experience as well as the corporate experience as well.
Okay, and are you the guy who kind of put this deal together?
Yes, there was a few of us founding principals, myself, Charles Funk, as you mentioned, Stuart Smith, David Caulfield were some of the guys behind it when we first got it off the ground. And then added some other people into the mix. Darcy Marood, who's previously worked in Chile, Roberto Alarcon-Bittner, Diego Guido. So we put together a very solid team with some very relevant experience.
Right. Okay. So you've attracted Michael Gentile and Peter Maroney in the latest round. I mean, what exactly were you selling them? What's the vision here?
The business plan for Astra is we're explorationists. That's what we do well. That's what our team's experienced in. So we're planning to develop this asset. Should there be something economic worth pursuing there, the idea is to develop this asset into a marketable asset, which we can then sell the project or the company to a major mining company. And as far as this last financing with Michael Gentile, Peter Maroney, Dundee was also in on that with one of their funds, a new venture equity fund, and some of the principals at Agentis in Vancouver. The selling point there was that we had undertaken a very modest drill program. We did 3,000 meters back in March, and we completed that for an all-in cost of about $650,000 Canadian. And with that program, we were able to define about 1.4 kilometers of a very thick vein that was continuous, and we identified 2 discrete gold mineralized zones near surface. So that was very encouraging for an initial drill program. And the group of investors was very impressed with the execution of the work, the capital efficiency, and the amount of information that we got and the de-risking that took place with very modest amount of funds. So to summarize that in short, they were quite impressed with the execution of the team.
Right, and I mean, talk to me about some of the grades that you're finding. I kind of want a sense of the size of the opportunity and size of the prize here.
Sure, it's so this vein structure that I mentioned. It's 1.4 kilometers. It's on average between 10 and 20 meters in thickness, up to 50 meters at one point. So very large structure. The deepest drilling that we had done in the first drill program was about 110 meters below surface, so quite shallow. Most of it was around 35 meters. Both of these zones, one was about 200 meters of strike length, one was about 300 meters of strike length. Both of these were open along strike and to depth. So we intersected some very encouraging results for mineralization. Hole 12 was the best hole. that had, I think it was 21 meters of about almost 3 gram gold equivalent. And within that was a 3 meter interval of almost 15 gram gold equivalent. And just an idea as far as the breakdown of gold silver, that was primarily gold. That 3 meter intersection was 14.5 grams of gold.
Okay, so you're getting able to put out these kind of high grade headline type things. But what's the kind of the drill program that you did, and what are you looking to do with the money that you've raised recently? Because everything's going to come through the drill bit in terms of headlines, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, this current program that is underway right now, we're targeting between 4,000 and 5,000 meters of total drilling. And a lot of the focus of this drilling is going to be expand those zones of mineralization down to depth and along strike. That's where we think the most compelling and attractive drill targets are. But there's also different vein structures around the region. This is, from our work, all indications are that this is a very large epithermal system with multiple veins. So the first drill program, we even intersected a couple of blind vein discoveries, drilled 29 holes, or drilled 30 holes in total and intersected vein in 29 of them. So had a very high success rate. And again, with this drill program, we will also be looking to make new vein discoveries in the area based on our targeting methods and our geological methods.
Right. Okay. And then how are you breaking down the money? You raised 2.4 million recently. So how are you allocating that in terms of the drill component, your G&A that you're running at? I know it's low, but where's that going to take you through to? How long does it last?
The drill program should be in the neighborhood of about $1 million Canadian. And we expect to have that finished up by probably the end of the month here, early August. And so the money that we raised that's in the treasury right now, that gets us well into about the middle of next year. And that completely covers this drill program that's underway right now, as well as a little bit of other work on some of our other projects.
I mean, Brian, given some of the backers that you got, Mike Chantilly, obviously, he's well known to us. Several of his companies have been on here. Peter Maroney, I suspect he's just on his way to make a lot of money as well with the Yamana Goldfields deal. Where are there growth opportunities ahead of you, either elsewhere in Chile or elsewhere in a portfolio type approach? Have you got access to capital?
Yeah, it's like I said, in these market conditions right now, it's difficult whether you want to raise money now in these tough markets. There's some groups that can't raise money at all at any price. And one of the opportunities that we see currently, if these market conditions are going to continue to persist, is distressed assets. These are high quality assets that have resources on them that you potentially to bring into the fold for a very good price. And so it's very much a multiple years forward thinking, but we also see opportunities to acquire other assets that are going to potentially add tremendous value going forward. So I think that to that degree, if you can find the right asset, the capital will be there, especially now that we've demonstrated our ability as a team and we've impressed some of the right names in the industry right now. So I think that that's a great opportunity for a company like ours.
Right. Okay. And then what? You're going to need to raise some more money, right?
Correct.
In this market, right? You look at what you guys came out of the gate at. It's been a tough year for everyone. You don't want to go and raise money at these rates, but so do you just slow things down? Do you sit and wait till the market recover, or would you just say, do you know what? There's no time like the present.
It's always a balancing act, right? Because the biggest threat to a junior company is dilution. So you always want to be, doing as much as you can to create value and produce results that would help you raise money. And so, when we'll raise money for sure, I can't tell you that for certain. But we are looking at a couple of avenues, whether that's another private placement. We have had ongoing conversations with major mining companies that have shown interest in both of our projects. They were quite impressed with the team, quality of projects. So that might be an avenue to pursue as well. So we'll just have to wait and see as the months proceed.
Right. Okay. Well, Look, I appreciate you coming on, Brian, and just sort of like introducing the story. Quite frankly, it's just sort of nice to hear new stories and see how people are coming at it. So, like, stay in touch as these drill results come through. We'd love to hear how you get on. Okay.
Absolutely, be more than happy to.